Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I was going through my things and I saw a whole bunch of art pieces that I did in the past. I was thinking to myself, what was I thinking? That these colors go together and then it looks good. So I decided to take a bunch of pieces out and just redo them. So you'll probably be seeing a whole bunch of these ugly art pieces. Keep an eye out for them. So right now I am covering up the mess. I did leave a few spots that were showing through, especially in the textured area. There was a bunch of molding paste that I had put originally on the canvas and it had cracked. I just painted over it and it was completely fine. So if you find yourself with cracked molding paste, it may not be exactly, what you wanted to do when you first put it on, but you can always paint over top of it. That blue area I left, and I honestly wasn't sure what I was gonna do with this piece. I just knew I wanted to cover it up with like yellows and oranges and reds, but I really didn't have an idea of what I was gonna do with this. I backed up from it and I saw this outline of what looked like a farmhouse. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna do a barn on top of a hill. So if you can see, there's some pencil marks in the background, and I'm just outlining that barn with the turquoise color. Now, if you remember in my previous video, if you didn't take a look at it, there's a link that's going to be above. Take a look at that video. But there was an art tip about color theory. And that tip really helped me in this piece. When I first started out, I wasn't really thinking about the colors that I was choosing. I use cadmium yellow, crimson, magenta, and white. Now, if you did watch the video, there are warm temperature colors. So there's a warm yellow and there's a cool yellow. There's a warm blue and a cool blue. Most art classes that I've taken, even in college classes, they will tell you that blue by itself is a cool color and red by itself is a warm color. That's not always true. If you notice in this video, the colors that I'm choosing for the background at this point are based on that color theory tip. So I'm using colors like turquoise, a cool violet, I believe it is Windsor violet, crimson, which is a cool red. I'm mixing some of those colors to create some of these other colors that you're seeing. did not have lemon yellow in acrylic paint. I was really hurting for paint. You know, when you're in the creative groove, you don't want to interrupt your flow. So what I did, I looked around at my supplies and I found a lemon yellow in watercolor. Usually you don't mix watercolor with acrylic, but me being a mixed media artist, I always like to try new things. So in this piece, I did take lemon yellow and watercolor, and that's what you're seeing on that piece. Those brightly colored yellows in the background, that is actually watercolor. Now the thing about watercolor on top of acrylic is that you're going to have to spray fixative on top of that so it doesn't move when you try to put something else over top, unless that's what you want to do. Now in my case, I wanted to kind of blend some of those colors into the white that I'm using right now. So if you notice, that yellow is blending into the white. Now if you want to do that, if you want that effect, obviously go ahead and do it, but if not, you're gonna have to spray. I used a workable fixative spray on top, and then I kind of rubbed my hand over top of where I had those watercolor paints, and it wasn't moving. Take a look at the color that I'm using right now. Do you notice that that barn is actually standing out from the background? It feels like it's starting to move forward. It's moving to the foreground. Now if you notice, there are yellows in the background. There's also light colored yellows in the background. But do you notice that they recede? They actually push to the background. They look like they're further away from that barn. That's that color theory tip that I'm talking about. Because the yellow in the foreground is cadmium yellow, which is a warm yellow, it's actually coming forward. And the color that I'm using right now is a mixture between cadmium red and cadmium yellow, which are both warm colors. So it's a warm red and a warm yellow, which makes a warm orange. That's why that hill and the barn is starting to come forward. Now another tip, especially if you're a beginner, don't be afraid to leave your brush strokes. So instead of trying to blend all my brush strokes, I was leaving the texture, and I found that when I did that, it actually became a really interesting piece. Now if you see here, I'm only going over the stroke just a few times and then leaving it. Be okay with the brush strokes that you make. Be confident in what you're doing. The more that you do it, the more you're going to be confident with, how you lay down the paint, how to hold the paintbrush. It'll become more natural. But don't be afraid to leave those brush strokes. That's what makes the painting interesting. And this painting really did teach me a lot about brush strokes. starting to blend, do a little bit more blending. I thought that the background was a little busy. I didn't want to take away from the barn that's in the foreground. So I wanted to make sure that I was blending the background so you could still see the brush strokes. I didn't want the background to be too busy because the barn is the subject of the painting. If you enjoyed the video and you want to see more, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.